Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Ancestral Family Living. Tonight I'm going to be sharing with you what I'm making for dinner, which is a homemade pot roast. So let's get to it. So this is, I believe it's a beef bottom round that I got at Sam's Club. And there was a decent amount of fat on it, so I just went ahead and sliced all of the fat off. I'm going to save this to make some beef tallow, but this is going to be the roast that we're working with. So right now I have my pan heating up. I'm just gonna add some butter to this, and then I'm going to saute the roast on all sides just to give it some flavor. And I do have my oven heating up to, I think it's 350. So let me get the roast in and then I'll show you what I do. Okay, so I have the roast searing right now. I'm just gonna go ahead and shred peel the carrots. I'm not going to chop it up a lot because I am just going to end up blending this into a gravy, but I will cut the tops and the ends off, so I'm just going to peel these right now. And I did already, the beef fat that I had on the cutting board, I went ahead and put that into a freezer bag, and I have that in the freezer labeled beef fat, so the next time I need to make tallow, that is what I'm going to pull out. We are probably just going to start maybe like once a week or every 2 weeks getting this cut of meat. So within the next month or so, I should have enough beef fat to be able to make the tallow. And these carrots, I'm almost done. I do have some garlic cloves here too. I'm going to add in, and then I also have one onion left. I need to go grocery shopping later today. I just haven't made it to the store yet. So I'm going to use the last onion that we have, and I used up the last little bit of garlic that we have, and that's all gonna go in for flavor as well. So I'm just going to cut the tops off and the bottoms of the carrots. And then I'm going to save all of this to for the next time that I make bone broth. And so I have some veggie scraps to add to the flavor for it. So in here, I did use the last of the black pepper that I had. I need to grind some more, but I'm just going to add some salt in here. It is a little bit crispy because I added butter instead of oil, but that's okay. I'm just going to have it sear on one more side and then it should be good. I'm gonna go ahead, once this is done searing, I'm gonna take it out and then I'm gonna add the vegetables in to let that cook down for a little bit. Okay, so I actually have 2 onions, but I'm gonna see if this one is good. I might end up using both of them. I think I'm gonna start buying our onions again from our local produce stand and stop buying them at Aldi. Just because the ones at Aldi, a lot of the times, at least there's 1 or 2 in the bag that just you're not able to really use them. Which isn't a big deal. I just save them for my bone broth scrap veggie mix that I have. But I would prefer, if I'm buying onions, to be able to use them. So I think that's why I'm gonna start getting them from our local produce stands. That way I know they're at least fresher and they'll last a little bit. So I'm just gonna cut this up into 4ths, and then I'm gonna go get the other onion and see if that one's good on the inside, and I'll use that one as well too. Yep, okay, this one's good too, so I'm gonna use this as well. So this will be my whole pile of veggie scraps that I use for the next time I do bone broth, which will be sometime this week because I do have some whole chickens that we just got from Sam's Club, which I need to be using up because it's probably gonna go bad here in the next couple of days. So yeah, so I'm gonna end up saving these. And I'm thankful that I'm able to get 2 onions out of this because that'll be some good flavor for the pot roast. Okay, so I just added in the carrots, onion, and the garlic. I'm going to let that saute for just a couple minutes. I'm probably going to add a little bit of water in there as well with some rosemary and some thyme seasoning. So normally when I do my pot roast, I will just have the vegetables on the side and we'll just eat them cooked. But I saw a recipe on Instagram where the person actually blended up the vegetables with a little bit of the juice that cooked off from the meat, and they ended up making a gravy out of it. So I think I'm going to try that this time because my boys don't really eat the vegetables when we have them. So I thought if I can blend them up and mix it into the gravy, one, it'll give it a lot more flavor, and two, the boys won't even know that they're eating vegetables. So that's why I'm just cooking these down. They'll cook in with the pot roast whole, and then once the pot roast is done, I'll remove the meat, and then I'm just gonna blend up what's left, like all the juices that cook off of it, along with the vegetables, and then I'll add that back in to like at the side, so they can have gravy. And then I'm just going to I'm debating on whether I should have the potatoes cook in with the roast or if I should just make mashed potatoes. I think I might just make mashed potatoes in the Instant Pot and just save myself a step, even though it would just be adding in the potatoes like an hour until it's done cooking. But my boys will more than likely eat mashed potatoes over like a baked potato in there, if that makes sense. My husband and I don't care either way, but when we're talking about the kids, they are a little bit picky. Okay, so as these are just sauteing, I've got my ground thyme. I'm going to add maybe like a teaspoon in of that. I have my rosemary leaves. I do have fresh rosemary, but sometimes the flavor is just a little bit too strong for my kids, so I'm going to go ahead and save that for when I do my bone broth. And then I'm going to add in about a teaspoon of salt. Just going to give that a quick stir and let all those like flavors kind of come out as the vegetables are cooking. And I just remembered I've got like half a jar of tomato paste left from when I made homemade hamburger helper early in the week. So I'm going to add that in here as well. I did add some water into this just because a lot of the stuff was starting to stick to the bottom. But I'm going to go ahead and add in the tomato paste in here as well, just to help give it a really rich flavor. But then we are not too far off. I'm not worried about the vegetables being cooked thoroughly, like being cooked through, because they are going to be continuing to cook once they're in the oven. But I probably added maybe half a cup of water into this. But overall, I'm probably going to add in maybe about like 2 to 3 cups of water once the roast is in, to help that all cook once it's in the oven. You want to make sure you add enough water, because if you don't, then it's going to turn out really dry. I've had that happen before. And also, if you like having the sauce or the gravy on the side, adding a little bit more water will help you just kind of get more yield with that. Okay, so here I've got maybe 4 cups of water. I'm just going to pour that in. I'm going to wait for this all to come to a boil. I guess I should add in my tomato paste as well. So I'm going to add in my tomato paste, wait for this to come to a boil, and then I'm going to add the roast back in here and put it into the oven to let it cook. Okay, so this is almost boiling, so I'm just going to add the meat back in. I might have to not do this on camera because this is a pretty hefty chunk. Ooh, let's see if I got it. Okay, whew, okay. Cool, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the lid on. The oven is preheated to 350, and we're just gonna let this cook low and slow in the oven. I'm hoping that 4 hours will be enough in the oven. It's 2 p.m. now, so I'm hoping around 6 p.m. it'll be done, but if it needs to go a little bit later, then so be it. So I will show you what it looks like once it's done, and I'll also show you how to make the gravy once we're at that point. Okay, so it is now 6:38, which means it's been in for about 4.5 hours. That is done, and we have someone coming over to the house to do kind of like a sales pitch, so it's probably going to be a little bit until we can eat this. I did forget to film it, but we've got mashed potatoes here in the Instant Pot. Basically, I just peeled my potatoes, cut them, put as many that I had in the Instant Pot, and then I filled them up with water so they all were covered. And then I just put it on manual for 12 minutes and let that cook. I'm gonna let this sit a little bit longer because sometimes some of like the starchy water can come out of the top. But once this hits low 10, I'll release the pressure, and then I'll show you what I do to make the mashed potatoes once we're at that point. Okay, so it's a couple hours later now. I am just going to reheat this because the meeting that we had took a little bit longer. But I did go ahead and just drain the potatoes. There's about maybe half a cup of the water that the potatoes cooked in there. Oh, sorry, I just had to let my dogs out. But there's about a half a cup of water in there that the potatoes cooked in. I'm just going to add some half and half, some butter, maybe a little bit of sour cream and some Parmesan. Mash that up and do some salt and pepper. I did just buy pepper at the store, so I have some. And then my plan to make the gravy is I'm just going to take out the roast. I'm going to blend up all of the juices and everything that the roast cooked in with the vegetables, and then we're just gonna pour that over top of the roast. Let's see how this goes. I'm going to try and put everything in this, like all the vegetables and the sauce in here, and just blend it, but we're gonna see. Okay. Right, so this is everything. I'm just going to blend it up now. Okay. Oh yeah. That did not take long at all, but I'm just going to pour this. I'm gonna put the roast back in the pot and just pour this over, and that's gonna be dinner. Hey everyone, so we've got another night of dinners. Tonight I'm going to be making a chicken Alfredo. Last night I ended up just doing a whole chicken in the Instant Pot and just making rice with it. So I have a little bit of chicken left over, so that's what I'm planning on using for tonight. I just went ahead and made some heavy whipping cream on the stove. I did forget to record it, but I'm gonna go ahead and show you what it looks like, and I'll tell you what I did. Okay, so this is what the finished product looks like. I posted a short on this a little bit ago, but basically you need 1/3 of a cup of butter. You melt that down, and then you need 2/3 of a cup of milk. But I ended up doing a double batch for this to do the heavy cream for the Alfredo sauce. So basically once the butter is melted, then you just pour in the milk, you cook it on the stove for 20 seconds, and then you remove it from heat, which is the spot that I'm at now. So I'm just gonna come back and keep stirring this. I don't need to start making dinner for probably another 45 minutes. So I'm just gonna let this cool off and thicken in the meantime. But that is an easy and simple way how to make homemade heavy whipping cream without all of the added junk that most store-bought heavy whipping creams have. Okay, so it's now time for me to start doing dinner. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the stove back on. I have my heavy whipping cream mixture in here. The recipe does say to do 1/2 cup of butter and 1.5 cups of heavy whipping cream, but because there's already so much butter already in this heavy whipping cream, I'm just gonna skip that step and just kind of use what is already in here. So it does call for, it said I think 2 teaspoons of minced garlic, but I've just got fresh garlic I'll put in here, and then just like different seasonings, salt, pepper. It said Italian seasoning, but I don't have that. I have parsley and I have oregano, so that's what I'm going to use. And then it said to do 2 cups of Parmesan. I went ahead and shredded the big Parmesan block that I got from Sam's Club, so that is what is in here. And I'm still trying to decide if I'm just gonna put the chicken in here with the sauce, or if I'm gonna warm it up on the side and just have it be like a make your own. I think I'm just gonna end up doing the chicken in here just to save myself a step, but I know my boys probably are gonna be upset with the fact that it's all combined, if that makes sense, but it is what it is. I don't wanna do too much. I've gotta get going here soon. It's like a women's group thing tonight. So this is heating up. I'm just gonna go ahead and add in my salt. Got probably like a teaspoon of salt in there. And I always do a taste test at the end too, just to make sure that everything like tastes good before I serve it to everyone. We're gonna do some pepper. And the boys are outside playing with the hose, so if you hear screaming, someone's probably just getting pelted with water. Okay, and so then some oregano. And then I'm going to do the parsley. I'll save the parsley for the end. I'm just gonna let this heat up. I'm gonna go ahead and get the garlic cloves ready. I just have fresh garlic, and I have my garlic mince here. Where is my chin? I won't use a cutting board for this. So I'm probably gonna do like 3 cloves of garlic. I normally would get my cutting board out, but it's dirty right now and I just can't be bothered to clean it. It's just been a long day. Okay, so there's one. Oh yeah, these are big cloves too. This will be perfect. And I've made this recipe once before and it turned out really well. I ended up doing like a stuffed shell recipe where it was, I guess it ended up being manicotti because I didn't have stuffed shells, but I basically just like with the manicotti noodles put the Alfredo, like the chicken Alfredo mixture on the inside, and then just poured the rest of the sauce over it, and it turned out really good. I think everyone in my family liked it but one of my boys, and the one who didn't like it is like my pickiest eater, so I was kind of figuring that would happen. I already have some noodles going in the Instant Pot, so worst case scenario, I won't use, this is like the bag that I just put the chicken in, I won't use all this chicken, so worst case scenario, if one of my kids decides they don't want to eat it, they can just have plain noodles and the chicken on the side without the sauce and everything. And then we do have like obviously fruit that we'll serve it with. I don't have any bread, like garlic bread or anything like that to serve it with, but I know that would be yummy if I had it. I also don't have any broccoli. I know some people put broccoli with their stuff. If it was just my husband and I would totally do that, but with having kids, they don't really like broccoli, so I'm just gonna save myself a step and not do it. So now I'm just gonna add in the garlic. One, and I'm using 3 cloves total of garlic, but the cloves are like really big. The recipe said I think 2 teaspoons, but I always like to use more than what the recipe says. Just, you know, I like garlic, my husband likes it, so why not? Okay. So now that that's in there, just going to give this another whisk. And I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so here is what it looks like. I'm still trying to get it to come to a boil, but once it comes to a boil, I'm just gonna try and get some of the liquid to cook off. And then I will add the chicken in, and that is going to be dinner. Simple, easy, somewhat healthy. I guess it depends if you think butter and milk and all this stuff is healthy. We think it is. And then obviously with the Parmesan cheese is actually the most nutrient-dense cheese that you can eat. So I'm happy putting that in here instead of like a mozzarella or a cheddar cheese. So yeah, so let me just wait for this to boil, and then I will show you what it looks like once some of the liquid is cooked off. Okay, so it is nice and bubbly. I need to still add in the Parmesan, and I'm going to add in the chicken as well, but I just wanted you to see what it looks like before I start doing that. Okay, so I'm going to do the Parmesan first. This is about 2 cups of freshly shredded Parmesan. My noodles just got done too, so that's why I'm starting to do this process. So I'm just gonna stir this in. That's gonna help thicken it up. And then the chicken, since it's already cooked, I'm just gonna kind of shred it with my fingers and put it in here and let that warm up for a second. So now that the Parmesan's in, I am gonna turn the temperature down a little bit. I'll probably end up doing like half the bag. I'm gonna try, my boys have a weird thing of like they don't like dark meat, so I'm gonna try and save the pieces that I know are like the chicken breast and the chicken tender off to the side. So if they do end up just eating plain chicken, that's already there for them. We had that issue last night. They didn't want to eat the dark meat. And I did, when I made the chicken, I put turmeric in it with black pepper to kind of just have additional benefits for the broth, but it did turn a little bit of the chicken yellow, and that like threw them for a loop. They're like, we don't want yellow chicken, which, you know, like they're little, so it is what it is. As they get older, hopefully they'll learn to be less picky with stuff, because I really like cooking with whole chickens versus the chicken breast, the chicken thighs you get at the store, just because I like making my own broth. And so that way I just put the whole chicken in the Instant Pot, filled up with water, like veggies, seasonings, and then let that cook. And that way I can get, I guess it's technically stock. I'll get chicken stock, and then I get a whole chicken doing it that way. Because I do like to drink, oh yeah, this cheese. I do like to drink bone broth every morning, so that's one way I just save on groceries and not buying it. And it does, in my opinion, it tastes better when you do it homemade versus the store-bought stuff. It's not as watered down. Yeah, so adding that Parmesan in really made it thicken up. I am going to do a little bit more chicken. Get some of these bottom pieces. And I'm just shredding it with my fingers. If you, you could do, obviously you could do like an entire chicken breast with this and like saute it on the side and then just pour the sauce over. You could just do the sauce and the noodles. You don't have to have chicken, but we do obviously like to have the protein. You could do like protein pasta with it if you're like on a meal plan of some sorts. So yeah, that's better. So the Parmesan really helped thicken it up too. And with the shredded chicken, it's more of a sauce now than straight up liquid. It does kind of look like mush or goop, I guess, just because the shredded chicken in with the cheese, but it smells amazing. Okay, I'll show you what that looks like now. So this is what it looks like now with the chicken and everything mixed in. I'm just going to put the noodles on the bottom and then I'll serve this over the top of it. My husband and I will eat it like this. You could also just mix your noodles in here if you don't have picky eaters. But for myself, I think my boys are gonna want it separate. So that is how I'm going to serve it. All right, so this is what we are working with. My husband likes to make his own bowls and like his own plates just because I never know like how hungry he is when he gets home from work, but this is mine. I've got the sauce over top for the kids. I spaced it out so they can like dip the noodles in, or if they want to, we can spoon the sauce back on top. But I have a feeling they're not gonna wanna eat the sauce. They're gonna eat all the noodles and the grapes. So this is what we are having for our homemade chicken Alfredo for tonight. Hey everyone, welcome back. Tonight I'm going to be making my own version of Arroz con Pollo, or ACP. My husband normally likes it with the cheese sauce, but I don't really have the ingredients to make the cheese sauce, so I'm just gonna do some shredded cheese on top. But let's get started and I'll show you how I make the rice in the Instant Pot. So in here you can see I was just about to get it started and I was like, oop, nope, let me film it. So I have probably about 2 cups of rice in here. I have just some water. If you have chicken broth, you can add that in as well. I'm probably gonna add in a little bit of the chicken broth we have homemade in the fridge in here just because I think I'm gonna need a little bit more water. I have some oregano, I have salt, and then I just added in about a big tablespoon of tomato paste. This is my first time making it this way. I normally do a little bit more seasonings in there, but I just want to see if it will turn out cooking it like this. So yeah, so this is everything that we have in here, and then I'm just going to click the rice button and let that cook until it's at low pressure 10. But let me go ahead and add some more chicken broth in here. Okay, so here is the broth. I'm just gonna stir that in with everything. I also have a clove of garlic and a half an onion mixed in with this, and I'm just going to let this all cook in the Instant Pot. Sorry, all the kids just came in if you heard the door open and shut a bunch. Okay, so next I'm going to do the chicken. I already have this chicken that I made in the Instant Pot for the chicken broth that I've been using. So it's already cooked, but I went ahead and just put all of my seasonings together. If you can see it, it's smoked paprika, oregano, garlic powder, onion powder. I did a little bit of cumin, salt, and pepper. And basically what I do when I have already had cooked meats, I know you're not supposed to season them after the fact, but what I normally do is just either add chicken broth or water in with the chicken while it's on the skillet kind of warming up. Or I'll mix in the seasoning with that water mixture and just let it cook that way. It's obviously not the best way to do it. The best way is let it marinate when you're cooking it and whatever, but this is the chicken that I have. I don't want to go and do a whole other chicken and have it be a whole thing. I was thinking I could do ground beef, and honestly, if this doesn't turn out, I will just switch to ground beef and just make regular taco meat. But since my husband really likes ACP, I wanted to go out to dinner tonight and get it, but then I'm like, no, I have the ingredients to make it here, let me try. So this is me experimenting, so we'll see how it goes. And if you see here, this is the homemade chicken broth that I made using our whole chickens. You can see the little fat cap on there. So normally how I do it is I just poke a little hole in it. It is very gelatinous, and you can use the stuff on the top. That's just a cooking fat. So honestly, that's what I'll do now. I'll just scrape some of this off because I was just going to use butter, but I'll go ahead. We made bacon this morning, so I still have a little bit of bacon grease in here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and like scrape a lot of this off and use that to cook the chicken in. And then I'm gonna pour a little bit of the bone broth in here and add the chicken in to get that kind of like warming up. So, and like, I don't want to say the M word, but I'm gonna get a little bit more moist. Sorry, I know that's like a trigger word for some people. But let me go ahead and I'll do that, but it's hard to do it one-handed. Okay, so I've got the broth. I just did the like fat cap, and just like the chicken in here. There is still a little bit of bacon grease in the pan from when we made bacon earlier. So I'm just gonna kind of like let this warm up slowly. I've got my stove is on like the medium level, and once this is starting to warm up more, that's when I'll do the seasonings. But I just want to make sure that I'm not cooking it too much and really drying it out. It was pretty juicy when I had cooked it because it was cooked with the bone broth, but I also want to be mindful of the fact that it's like already cooked chicken and it can dry out a lot easier than raw chicken can. In goes the seasonings, and I did add a little bit more seasonings than what the recipe originally called for, just because I did want to make sure that it had some flavor to it. So I'll probably keep adding in some chicken broth or water if I don't want to use all of the chicken broth while this is warming up, but I just want to make sure that this has a nice opportunity for all of the flavors to blend together before we eat it. I did go ahead and already shred up some cheese. Not all of my boys like shredded cheese, so if everyone was going to be eating this, I would just add this in with the chicken and let it melt. But because I think 2 of my 3 boys wouldn't eat it with the cheese mixed in, I'm just leaving it on the side and we'll just have it melt on the top. And then we have these flour tortillas that I got at the store. They need to get used up, so I'm just doing these instead of making my own, which I have made my own einkorn tortillas in the past and they've turned out great. It's just a little bit of legwork, like making them, rolling them out, all that stuff. My boys really do like tortillas though, so they will definitely eat the tortillas and hopefully they will eat the rice. When I make tacos, it's normally just white rice or like a cilantro lime rice. So we'll see if they end up eating the stuff because it does have like tomato paste mixed in it. So it's going to be a different color than what they're used to. So for bone broth, I've probably used about a cup so far, just in case you are doing this at home and you have the same problem as I do. I would think about a cup of whatever liquid you choose to do would be enough to kind of get everything going. And this is starting to shred as it's warming up, which is fine, because obviously shredded chicken with tacos is great. Okay, so I'm gonna let that just kind of simmer, and we have 3 minutes left on the rice. So I'll probably go ahead once my husband's on his way home from work, so I'll probably get these going once he gets home, so that way they're not cold, just in case he hits some traffic. Okay, so this is what the chicken looks like when it's done. As you can see, a lot of the chicken broth is cooked off. I've got all the seasonings in there. My husband just got home, but I need to head out really quick, so he's going to be the one warming up the tortillas. But when we do the tortillas, we just obviously put them on the pan, low heat, wait for it to start bubbling, and then you flip it over. It's probably about 15 seconds on each side. And then the rice is releasing pressure right now too, but I can show you what that looks like when I get back. Okay, so this is what the rice looks like when it's done. I just put in probably 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm just going to kind of help it, you know, get melted around, mixed around in there. But that is everything that we are having for dinner tonight. I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like on the plate. Okay, so this is what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and roll it up, but I've got my cheese, my rice, my chicken, and some sour cream. That's really good. So that is the end of the video. I hope this provided some meal inspiration for you and your families. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.